Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, it's Friday. If you're watching this live, Friday morning. Hope your Friday
With that breaking
is going
news,
well.
Heathrow Airport, one of the world's busiest airports, will be
If it
closed
isn't,
until...
hang on. If it isn't going well, at least you're not at Heathrow on waiting to catch a flight, or your flight's been diverted that you were going to Heathrow and it's been diverted. Flights have been diverted all over the world. I mean, this is just a crazy situation, isn't it? So, for those of you who don't know, Heathrow Airport is one of the busiest airports in the world, the busiest international airports in the world. It's in London. We'll have a look on the Google Maps in a moment. And it's all been ground to a halt because of a fire quite a long way away from it in Hayes. We're going to have a look at that on Google Maps. I'll just let you hear the headlines on Sky News first while I look for the map.
And the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, told this programme it's too soon to say what caused the fire, but the priority is to get power restored. Well, an estimated 1,300 flights will be directly affected, which could trigger chaos for air carriers around the world. British Airways have told customers not to travel to Heathrow Airport for their flights until further notice, while Virgin Atlantic says all their flights arriving and departing from Heathrow will be cancelled until midday today. And in the last half an hour, Ryanair has announced that it's launching what it's describing as 8 rescue flights for affected passengers. So our correspondent Sadia Chowdhury joins us now from Heathrow. And Sadia, the good news is that the fire at this electrical substation is under control, but still a huge amount of impact that it's had.
So, yeah, there's a fire at Hayes, which is quite a distance away. I just got it up on Google Maps. Let's have a look. There's quite a distance between... No, see where Heathrow is? Heathrow Airport, and Hayes is right up there. But somehow this fire that nobody knows what caused the fire at Hayes has affected Heathrow Airport, because that must be where the electricity comes from for Heathrow. Of course, you can't run an airport without electricity. And the general thought seems to be that although they will have backup generators, the outage must have just been too much. Too much. Let me put the Sky News thing back on. We can just watch it in the background while we're talking. Yeah. So all flights have been cancelled, and Heathrow Airport is closed completely until at least this evening. For the rest of the day it's closed, and who knows, it may even be closed for longer than that. And there's so much, it's so much disruption, isn't there, involved here. Imagine if you were either supposed to be going somewhere. I suppose it's better if you were supposed to be going somewhere, you're stuck at the airport. Maybe your flight company has got to put you up in a hotel or something. But some people were already in the air on their way to Heathrow. Imagine that. You're in the air coming from America, because, of course, it's Heathrow that does most of the long-haul flights, isn't it? Asia, etc., Australia. The longer flights tend to go from Heathrow. So... what is, what do they do? So some planes have just had to turn around and go back to where they came from. Some planes have been diverted to other European airports, to Ireland, to France, to Germany, etc., or to America. I mean, it just seemed amazing to me that you couldn't get much further away, could you, being diverted to America if you were heading to London? So it's chaos for these people, and especially people with children. That's the worst thing, isn't it? I was watching a girl being interviewed. She seemed to be quite enjoying it, because luckily for her, she was flying with Singapore Airlines. They put her up in a hotel. They were paying for everybody's food. They were being a good, responsible airline. But even then, if you had work to get to, there's lots of reason, and especially if you had children with you, how difficult it is to entertain children at airports at the best of times when you've only got to do it for 2 hours. So yeah, very, very difficult situation, isn't it? So just causes just so many problems, because it'll have a knock-on effect as well. Won't only be a problem today, even if the airport reopened tonight as they're hoping to. You know, the knock-on effect of sorting out all the flights that haven't been able to fly go on for days, won't it? It's not going to be resolved overnight. Anyway, I'm going to say hi to the lurkers, hi to anybody watching on Replay Crew. What we're going to talk about in this video is this, a little bit of this, and then we're going to talk about Bryan Kohberger, we're going to talk about Stephan Sterns, we're going to talk about 2 other cases of one that somebody sent me in by email that I didn't know about, and another one that I've just seen this morning on X that I want to talk about. If I've got time to talk about all these things, because we'll see how it goes, see how my voice holds out. So, of course, I was really poorly last night, but I'm always better in the morning. I always feel better in the morning, feel like a different woman. But I think sometimes you just need that complete rest, don't you? You know, I had a good night's sleep. Rested my voice, and yeah, just generally I am more of a morning person. But also, it's raining again here in Spain. We've had storms this morning. I'm fed up of whinging about the weather. Oh my God, it's like going back in time when I lived in Britain. So, you know, we're in now nearly in our 4th week of rain and storms, and again this morning, storms, rain. But I think it's not raining at the moment because I can hear the birds chirping. When you can hear the birds chirping, you know it isn't raining. So it's got to end sooner or later. But as I say, you sort of wake up and you think, oh God, it's raining again. But then when you look at what some problems people are facing this morning, you know, God, the thought of being there and stuck, not being able to continue your journey, I think is just horrible, isn't it? Hanging around. You know, unless you have got a good airline like that girl that I saw being interviewed who'd been put up in a lovely hotel. And, you know, she was okay because she was a young girl. She had no, you know, she said, oh, it's the weekend. You know, she was very sort of philosophical about it. But she was a young girl with no kids, no job maybe to get to, or at least not till Monday. You know, that's a different situation, isn't it? Depends on your situation. I mean, there's nothing you can do, whatever your situation is, you just have to go with it, don't you? But yeah, if you were there with 5 kids, you know, or 1 kid even, that'd be difficult. Okay, so, sorry, I was just about to say, want to say thank you to everyone. Just let me put my banner on for 2 minutes because I should do that at the beginning of videos. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Special thanks to my members. Sorry I didn't get to do the members live last night, but I'll be back. But normal service will be resumed next Thursday. And, you know, I'll try and make it up to you during the week by releasing some special members videos. So, yeah, thanks to all of you who've bought me a Ko-fi or PayPal'd me or sent me a super sticker. I really appreciate everything you do to support my channel. Thank you so much. And thank you especially for all the lovely messages I got, hoping that I would get better soon. That's so nice. It made me feel like I was really cared about, so thank you. Okay, so yeah, hi to you lurkers, hi Replay Crew. Let's have a look at who's in the chat. A few of you in the chat, a few early birds or late birds, depending on where you are in this crazy world. Hi David, hi Kelly, hi Angel. Yes, Kelly, I thought of you actually straight away. I know you're going in a couple of months, but it's good. This won't happen again now. I mean, this is it. It's got it out of the way. Better that it happens now, as far as you're concerned. Yeah, there is a backup system that, David, that, well, I didn't Did Ed Miliband say there wasn't a backup system? Well, you know that travel guy. I was watching him. I can't remember what his name is, but he always pops up when there's any stories about travel. He said the problem, or it was either him or someone else. I don't know. I've watched that many people being interviewed this morning. Said there would be a backup system, but it just wouldn't be enough to do the whole. They don't expect the whole thing to go down. There'll be a backup. If one thing goes down, let's say, I don't know, maybe the conveyor belt system so somebody was saying anyway, there was a backup system, but it wouldn't be enough to cope with the size of this. Apparently, but we'll have, you're two, right, your sisters are long-term, hi David's sisters, long-term lurkers. David's grassing you up now. He's grassing you up. Hi, Maria. Yeah, they're keeping an eye on you. Let's just listen. I'll just turn the sound up for a bit and see. Let's see if ever listen to what she's saying.
Half hour, they have brought that fire under control, but I think certainly for the people here who live in Hayes, it's a residential area, the worry for them will be that many of them have been evacuated. How quickly can they return to their homes, and how can they do that when it's safe to do so?
Well, dozens of flights already in the air around the world are being forced to divert. Let's bring in our...
Yeah, so that's the other thing. So in Hayes itself, where the fire broke out, lots of people were evacuated from their homes, and they've had the air quality, that they're all worried about the pollution in the air, etc. Let's just have another look at how far away it is. It's quite a long way away, isn't it? But of course, those local residents in Hayes, apart from being evacuated from their homes, some of them were without power for a long time, but they've got it back on now. Everyone's concerned about the quality of the air, of course. So for anyone who doesn't know, Heathrow is just near London. London's down here somewhere. It's not far from London. It's in the south of the UK. And it's not only one of the busiest UK airports, but it's one of the busiest international airports, because this is where all the international flights go, isn't it, etc. So let's just have another look. So I'm just going in between there and Sky News, seeing if there's any. I don't think there's any there won't be any proper updates for a while. Oh, hang on.
Early tomorrow. So we spoke to one lady who's in Shenzhen, with city in South China. She's been told her flight might take off at 2 a.m. China time.
Oh,
but
my
it's
God.
just unsure whether that's going to actually go ahead or not. Another lady in Singapore said, Singapore Airlines have just said to her, do you know what? We just don't know at the moment how that will go and where it will be. And look, there's also other disruption that passengers face, just the issue of visas. We've spoken to another Chinese passenger who said she doesn't have a visa for the third European country that she's landing in. And look, here in Asia as well, so many of the airports are big, major international hubs. The aircraft that were due to be landing here should have been going on elsewhere. The cabin crew, the staff, even the fuel is a big problem as well. How airports and aircraft are being refueled in other hubs around the world is a well-oiled system.
Yeah, this is a massive logistical problem, isn't it? All those things that they were talking about. So, if you would get diverted. So, for a British person, if you were on a plane coming back from wherever, and then you got diverted to America, well, you wouldn't have a visa. Imagine it in America now, they're bloody arresting people on site, aren't they? If they haven't got proper visa and what have you, they're just... you could end up in an immigrant prison or something. I mean, I'm sort of laughing, but it's not even funny. Let's have a listen what he's got to say again.
there was a backup generator, but that was also affected by the fire, which gives a sense of how unusual and unprecedented it was.
So he said there was
a second backup, if you like, which they are seeking to use to restore power. So, there are backup mechanisms in place, but given the scale of this fire, the backup mechanisms also seem to have been affected. But obviously, with any incident like this, we will want to understand why it happened and what, if any, lessons it has for our infrastructure.
So yeah, there were backups, but it was the scale of this is just too much. So there you go. Well, so they're not very good backups then. If they can't, they should, maybe they need a better backup system. Yeah. So that if you had to fly into a different country because of this, and you don't have a visa for that country, that's a problem, isn't it? That's got to be sorted out for people. There's so many problems, everything. Oh, it's unbelievable, really. Lots of various problems. Yeah, Kelly, but I think they have to leave the airports because they're trying to put them up in hotels, aren't they, and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I don't know how it works. It'd just be horrible, wouldn't it? It's just horrible for anyone, just that your whole plan's been disrupted as well as visa problems. And yeah, there should be a backup thing as far as the visa things are concerned. But, what it's like, bureaucracy and that. Who knows what might happen? And then, of course, are people going to say that they've been, are they going to use this opportunity to get in? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's just a big mess. I think what we can be agreed on here is this is a total, complete mess, and it'll affect thousands and thousands of people. Well, Ryanair have come to the rescue. They're sending out emergency flights and that. I do like Ryanair, and I do like Michael O'Leary. I think he's good. Anyway, he's sending out, I presume they're not charging, though they might be charging the airlines or whatever, people won't have to pay. They're sending out emergency flights to get people home. Because imagine, even if your plane was only diverted to, somewhere in the UK is not a big country. Supposedly, it was supposed to land at Heathrow, and you got diverted to Birmingham. You've still got to get home from Birmingham, haven't you? You're going, you were planning on getting another flight out somewhere else. Maybe you live in London. Maybe you had your travel plans back home. So even if it was a close by airport like Birmingham or Luton even, it's still a logistical nightmare. And then the further afield you go, say you were diverted to Glasgow, that's miles away from London. Say you were diverted to an Irish airport or a French airport or a Spanish airport. All these places, they're still miles away from where you're supposed to be going. So I think it's good that Ryanair are sending out these emergency flights to bring people back closer, at least, to where they are. They can't go to Heathrow, obviously, but they could go to Gatwick or another London airport or Luton, more of the closer airports. Yeah, so it is a big mess, isn't it? It's a big, complete mess. And lots of people, hi Misty, lots of people are affected by this, aren't they? So I just wanted to talk about that. I was thinking about you, Kelly, but I'm sure it'll all be sorted out by the time you go. And the one good thing is it's happened now, so they'll look into it, make sure it doesn't happen again. But, it is, the thing is, as soon as you get on any sort of transport, not just planes, anything, at the end of the day, things happen, don't they, out there in the world? But it's rare, isn't it? I mean, this has never happened before. So that's one good thing, not this particular thing anyway. So the inquiry is going to start, isn't it? What happened? What caused that fire? That's the crux really here. How did that fire even start? because this is an electrical substation, isn't it? And, you know, there should be protection there, security there. So it just makes you wonder, how did it even start in the first place for it to affect Heathrow Airport so much? And of course, all the local people. So we mustn't forget, it hasn't only affected Heathrow Airport, it's affected people locally around there. There would just be thousands of people, you know, who've been affected. So yeah, I think it could be an attack, couldn't it, David? It makes you wonder. We just don't know. How does a big fire like that start off in a place that's supposed to be, you know, I would imagine their security is pretty high, isn't it? You know, we don't know yet. Anyway, the answer to that is really, it could have been an attack, or it might not have been an attack. It might have been an unfortunate incident. Seems to be a lot of strange things going on at the moment, don't they? Like, gosh, when you look at those pictures there of the substation, it's under control, but you can see all the foam there, all the smoke coming out. Looks pretty scary, doesn't it? And was anyone hurt? And it happened in the middle of the night. So it happened in the middle of the night. Yeah. Happened in the middle of the night. So details will just be coming out. We might not even get to know what really happened, you know, where it's like in Britain, especially, you never get to know what's really happening, do you? You get to know what they tell you about and not much more. So anyway. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to talk to you about. We're going to talk about a few things, so I'm going to go on to the next thing, because otherwise I won't get through them all. I've got a couple of hours. So the first thing I just wanted to talk about is this case of the Idaho 4. So this is let me just take that down one moment, change this. So we've got some pretty difficult cases coming up this year. And one of them, of course, is the Idaho 4 case. These 4 beautiful young people. We've got Madison Mergen, 21. Kaylee Goncalves, 21. Zana Kernodle, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20. And these 4 young people were murdered brutally, savagely in Idaho in the USA. Allegedly by this man. Let's have a look at him. Now, have you ever seen a creepier person than this man? This is Bryan Kohberger. And the reason I just wanted to show this photo, let's have a look where Idaho is as far as the America is concerned. Like we haven't really done a deep dive yet into this case. I need to do that really. There's so many facets to it. And so many twists and turns. And this horrible man, I mean, you know, innocent till proven guilty, of course. Yeah, I know that. I understand that. He's innocent till he's proven guilty. This photo of him, he's a selfie that he's taken practically immediately after these murders were committed, that he allegedly committed. And he's standing in front of his shower. There's no shower curtain. Where, you know, this is probably the shower where he showered after he murdered those 4 young people, because he would have been covered with blood if he did do it, of course. Just look at his face. He is so creepy, this guy. I don't know, that in his face, though, just looks like he's just done something that he really enjoyed doing. That's just horrible. You know, he gives me the absolute creeps, this guy. His eyes, just horrible. Which, of course, doesn't mean he's guilty. There's a lot of people out there who say he's not guilty. You know, you always get these I won't say nutters, but to me they are a bit nutters. There's so much evidence against this guy. It seems pretty clear that he's going to be found guilty, but we shouldn't prejudge, should we? He's innocent till he's found guilty. But there's a Bryan Kohberger fan club out there, like there used to be for Ted Bundy and a lot of serial killers, the Night Stalker and all that. They get this sort of fan base, that congregates around them and says they're innocent or just adore. Oh, it couldn't possibly be him. I saw someone on a video about Ted Bundy, this girl saying, oh, he's so dreamy. He couldn't possibly be guilty of murdering all these girls because he's so dreamy. Oh, God. I mean, how thick do you have to be? There's someone who's good looking, and Ted Bundy was good looking and he was charismatic and he did have something about him, but that means absolutely nothing. I wish people could realize this. It's not what people look like. They don't have to look a certain way to be a killer or a serial killer or a psychopath or a domestic abuser or whatever. It's nothing to do with the way they look. It's, some people just are bad. Like Ted Bundy was bad, but he convinced so many people that he was innocent. And his wife, Carol, who he married in prison and somehow managed to impregnate as well, she until the night, I think it was the night before he was executed, that he finally confessed, or not long before he was executed, he finally confessed to everything. And his poor wife had been defending him for years, just denying everything. You can never underestimate the power of denial. If somebody doesn't want to believe something, they do not believe it, and it doesn't matter what evidence you can show them. They just don't accept it. And this is what's going to happen when it comes to this trial for this man. When the evidence comes out, it's going to be, I tell you what, it's going to be tough for us, never mind for the families. I feel for the families, especially because they're going to have to, because if he pleads not guilty, these poor families are going to have to sit through all the evidence. If he has the grace eventually to plead guilty, then they don't have to listen and see, of course, the things that will be shown in court. But what we're going to just do now, let me just, we're going to listen to, so they've just recently as well. Hi, Julie. They've just recently, is he another one who's played he's another autistic person. Oh my God, all these autistic psychopaths. I'll tell you what, it's an insult to people who really have autism. It's an absolute, gosh, when you've got nothing left, no defense left, say you're autistic or you've got ADHD, or I don't know, your parents abuse you, that's why you murdered them. This is what they do. So they either claim these mental health issues, or they start blaming the victim, and the victim who can't say anything because they're dead, start saying, oh, well, they hit me first, or they did this, or they did that. It's just horrible. It's it's more horrible than the crime itself, to sort of, then people are going to end up thinking that all autistic people are psychopaths or something, so it's wrong. It's just so wrong. I do think there's an overdiagnosis of it. They're talking about that a lot now. We're going to talk about that in a video, and I think that's going to be controversial, but I saw it on the morning TV the other day. This one was talking about overdiagnosis, because don't you think that anyone that you got into test would be somewhere on the autism spectrum? We've all a bit. My son says I'm autistic. I'm laughing, but I probably am, because we've all got some things that we obsess about, or a bit of OCD or ADHD. When I was young, I had panic attacks day in, day out. I had so much anxiety, but I'm not saying this is right, but nobody cared then, because nobody cared if you had anxiety or if it wasn't something that was talked about. So the parents of my generation had just come out of a war. They weren't, I'm feeling a bit anxious, I don't feel like going to school. It was just like, well, you're going to school and that's it. Or I'm being bullied, and I'm not saying that that's right, but I don't think that these days, when it's all talked about so much, I don't think children are any happier, are they? I don't think it's made children happier being able to talk about everything, and it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's good to talk about it, but as long as anxiety and things like that, adolescents do suffer from it. And not only adolescents, I haven't had a panic attack for a long time, touch wood, I hope I never have one again. But when I was young, right up to probably maybe 10 years ago, I had terrible panic attacks. I used to have them in the middle of class, and I would have to actually walk out of class, and it just felt like the world was spinning around me and I was going to die, because that's how you feel when you have a panic attack, isn't it? Feels like you're going to faint or die or something. I've had so many, but you just have to find a way, because unfortunately, or you never go out of your room, and that's what I think's happening a lot with people now. So they're being diagnosed with anxiety, which is a terrible thing, but I think we have to be more aware of how to deal with it, rather than just accepting it and then never going out or facing it. You have to face your anxieties, don't you, really? In my generation, we had to face them because we didn't have a choice, because nobody was interested in them anyway. And I know that's not right, but surely there must be a medium balance. Sometimes I think everything's talked about too much these days. And then people like this, Bryan Kohberger, they jump on these kind of things. You can bet at his trial it'll come out how he's got all these mental health issues and autistic, ADHD, you name it, he'll have it. And it's an insult to people that do have those things and cope every day, get up, go to work, provide for their families. Those are the real heroes in this world. But anybody who carries on through these kind of things, to me, is a hero. And this guy, I bet he was cosseted by his parents, his father. He's another one. He's another Stephan Sterns. Oh, and just waiting for him to come out with the fact he's got autism or ADHD. That'll be the next thing. We're going to talk about him in a minute. That's what they're all coming out with. All of them. It's an insult, in my opinion. That's my opinion. And I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anyone, but that's what I think. He's no more autistic than Ted Bundy was autistic. He's just a nasty piece of work. If he's guilty, allegedly. Okay, let's listen to the 911 call, because that's just recently, just a couple of days ago, wasn't it? It was released. Let's have a look. Where is it? And just a warning, because it is upsetting. It is upsetting.
To break, we have now the chilling, newly released 911 calls made on the day 4 University of Idaho students were brutally stabbed to death. The audio reveals the chaos and confusion among the callers, who realized at least one of their roommates was never going to wake up. The audio released on Friday, a woman called 911 just before midnight on November 13, 2022. She sounded very upset while saying, quote, "Something happened inside our house." Breaking down crying, then she tried to give the address. That's when another woman took the phone away. Take a listen.
911 location of your emergency. Something is happening. Something's happened in our house. We don't know what. What is the address of the emergency? 1102. What is the rest of the address? Oh, Kings Road. Okay. And is that a house or an apartment? In the house. Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right? I'll talk to you guys. We live at the White, so we're next to them. I need someone to repeat the address for verification. The address, 1122 King Road. And what's the phone number that you're calling from? What's your phone number? And tell me exactly what's going on. One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up. Okay. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. Hi, and are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop passing it around. Can I just tell you what happened pretty much? What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now? I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m. Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out? Yeah, I'll come. Come on, we gotta go check. But we have to. What's wrong?
Is it just me or the operator seems irritated? Like, these operators, honest to God, they just drive you mad. She just sounds really annoyed with this girl. Is obviously really upset, and the operator just sounds really irritated with her.
She's not waking up. Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way. Okay, thank you. Okay, and how old is she? She's 20. 20, you said? Yes, 20. Here's one. Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Okay, sorry, they just gave me the phone.
Is she breathing?
Hello?
Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
So, yeah, she's getting annoyed because they're passing the phone around. Now, I understand what she's saying. She needs to speak to but just the irritation in her voice is a little bit, it bugs you a little bit, doesn't it? Because you can see how upset they are. So, of course, there are 4 young people dead in this house at this moment. At first, they talked about 1, didn't they? They thought she was just passed out because she'd been drinking the night before, etc. Then they just mentioned 2. But in fact, there are another 2 people as well. It's very sad.
Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, you have one. Are you talking to the officer? Yes. Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you. Okay, thank you. Bye. Okay.
That phone call happening around noon the next day after the bodies were discovered. Just chilling. That phone call ends shortly after the dispatcher told the callers to stop passing the phone around, and then police arrived. Bryan Kohberger is facing murder charges in the deaths of Ethan Chapman, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kylie Gonsalves. The students were killed at a rental home near the campus of Moscow, Idaho. Kohberger's trial is scheduled to begin August 11th. Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty if he is convicted. Good. They should seek the death penalty. But anyway, that's why he'll be using the mental health thing, won't he? Because they'll be trying to get the death penalty off the table as well. So that's in August, that trial starts, and, be a long trial unless he changes his mind in the meantime and decides to do the right thing and plead guilty. That's something that he could do to avoid the death penalty, of course. So he may well do that in the end when he realizes, or if it comes to the time when he realizes. I mean, there's so much evidence against this guy. You just can't. The problem you've got with this case is it's such it's a high profile case. Everybody's interested in it. It's one of those that's attracting attention all over the world. So, his defense will be saying he might not get free trial and all this sort of thing, a fair trial, etc. But the thing is, you can't go against the evidence. What will count is the evidence. And as it comes up to that trial in August, where are we now? We're in March.
more evidence will come out. I think this is going to be a very distressing trial, one of those particularly distressing ones. There's going to be horrible things come out. It's funny, I was talking yesterday, because I think part of the reason why I didn't feel too clever yesterday was some cases just really get to you more than others. And that case of that young man that killed his mum and his brother and his sister, it really, really got to me big time. And you know, we were saying, I said, I don't know whether I should be doing a true crime channel. I think I should be just going around and taking nice pictures, nice videos of Spain or whatever, or, you know, maybe doing some restaurant things, going in and doing like a restaurant critic. Because sometimes the world of true crime, it just, and you it's funny because some cases do affect you more than others. There are some cases that you think should affect you more and they don't. For some reason you can stand back from them. You know, they obviously, you feel for the people and that you feel the empathy, but there are some like that that case of Julian Prosper and his family, not Julian, sorry, Juliana was his mum, wasn't it, of anyway, it don't matter what his name was. Really affected me, really. You know, it just the thought of him living in that house and hating his mum, his brother and his sister so much till in the end he did what he did, and then planning to go and kill all those little girls and boys for no reason except for notoriety, just really got to me. So yeah, sometimes you do need to step back. But anyway, then there's another part of me, you know, I'm fascinated with true crime and I've been for a long time. So, you know, it's, you know, you feel like these people need to be discussed. The victim, for example, these victims, I was really not, Bryan Kohberger, his name, everybody knows it. And then, of course, what happens is the victims get forgotten. Sometimes their names aren't so easily recognizable because everyone concentrates on the perpetrator. You know, people won't remember all the victims of Ted Bundy. I don't remember them. And, you know, offhand, I mean, whenever I've done, I mean, he did have nearly 80 victims or something. So it's difficult to keep track sometimes and, you know, remember every single victim and tell their story. But of course, the victims are important, the most important, and the families are the most important. You know, it's so that's part of. There's two people I'm going to talk about after I've talked about Stephan Sterns that are what you probably haven't heard of either case. I hadn't till recently, and these are more people who are victims who need their names need to be heard, don't they? The victims, and then the perpetrators in a way, because they have to be known, shown up for what they are. But once they go to prison and they get their sentence, and they need to be forgotten, in my opinion. So anyway, this is, as I say, Madison, Kaylee, Xana and Ethan that are the victims in this case, the Idaho Four as they tend to be known as. But of course they have their individual names and their individual families. And it's him who's allegedly done it. So let's move on now to the next case I'm going to talk about is Stephan Sterns. Stephan Sterns, of course, let me put, have I got a picture of Madeline somewhere? Stephan Sterns, who allegedly, again, sorry, I just got a message through then as I was talking. Right, okay, so yes, Stephan Sterns. He has just appeared in court. He's trying to get the death penalty taken off the table. So Stephan Sterns, the death penalty, you know, the police are pursuing the death penalty. He's trying to get the death penalty taken off the table. A little reminder of what happened in this case. Poor Madeline just had her 13th birthday. Disappeared. He supposedly took her to school, but of course it turned out he didn't take her to school because the police are convinced that she was in the car with him, already deceased, from CCTV footage that they've got. And then, of course, they found all these horrible things on his phone, indecent images. That's his first trial. He's got that trial coming up very soon about the indecent images he had on his phone. Most, if not all, were of Madeline, looked like she was drugged, and from she was only 8 years old. So, yeah, horrible case. Another horrible case. These cases, this one, they do haunt you and they do stay with you. But we all want to see him be brought to justice, don't we? So he's appeared in court. So let's have a look at a couple of news items that we're talking about his appearance in court. I'm just going to put a couple of windows down. Not that many I can put down, actually, because I've put that one down. Put that one down. So this case happened in Florida, in the United States, didn't it? So let's go. Let's watch this video.
Murdering Maddie Soto actually showed up to court, accused of murdering Maddie Soto.
Yeah, he actually showed up to court this time, because sometimes he doesn't show up at court. So it doesn't look much different, I wouldn't say, but it looks a bit grayer. But I think he's probably in solitary confinement. I don't know. They won't be able to put him in the general population, but I suppose they can put him in with other people like him.
Actually showed up to court. Stephan Sterns walked into a hearing this morning with his hands cuffed and his legs shackled.
Sterns is facing dozens of child sex charges on top of the murder charge. And today he made a plea to close the sex abuse trial off to reporters. Sterns has avoided the courtroom until now. This is the last time we saw Sterns, when he was walked out of the Osceola County Jail more than a year ago after he was arrested for child sex crimes. He was charged.
Yeah, so he's trying to get the court closed, to reporters. Bloody cheek. Anyway, I hope the judge doesn't allow this, because everybody needs to know what he's like.
A little more than a month later with Maddie's murder, and Fox 35's Randy Hildreth following the story for the past year live at the Osceola County Courthouse tonight. And Randy Sterns' appearance caught reporters by surprise.
Yeah, good evening to you both. I can say that I was shocked to see him. Almost fell out of my chair, because we weren't expecting to see him today. As you mentioned, we haven't seen him in court until today, and most expected to see him when the trial starts. But I did get a chance to talk with some legal experts, and they say his legal team probably told him that now is the time to show your face. Stephan Sterns had a front row seat to his court proceedings Thursday. It was the first time we've ever seen him in court since he was charged in the sexual assault and murder of 13-year-old Maddie Soto. Were you surprised to see him today?
No, I was not surprised that he was there today.
Expert legal commentator Sonny Slaughter says Sterns' legal team likely told him it was time to show up.
Arguing on your behalf about personal impact and your constitutional rights, you need to be present.
Court calls the state of Florida versus Stephen Michael Sterns.
Today's hearing was about how much more access we'll get before Sterns' sex crimes trial starts in May. His attorney argued pre-trial hearings should be private moving forward, saying evidence could get out early and make it harder for Sterns to get a fair trial.
Potential jurors are exposed to facts that they aren't supposed to be exposed through publicizing of the case.
The defense argued a lot of.
Now, I sort of agree with that up to a point, because if it's going to give them any reason whatsoever to declare that the trial is not fair, I would rather that they did close it, because you don't want to give them any reason to be able to say this is not a fair trial. And, because he is toast. There is that much evidence against this guy. He can't get a not guilty verdict. He just can't. And, you know, it makes you wonder, what are the defence going to do? In the next video, I'm going to show you about this. I already don't like his defence lawyer. You know, I've got a low opinion of defence lawyers. But, of course, someone's got to do it. Everyone's entitled to a defence. But I'll show you in a minute why this woman really, really annoyed me, because I know you've got to represent your client, but you don't have to be his best friend. After what this twonk has done, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Potential jurors may know about the case because it's gotten local, national, international, and social media coverage.
Hopefully and potentially it will prevent the need to change the venue in this case come actual trial.
Judge, it's the state's position that they haven't shown anything by a preponderance of the evidence.
But the state told the judge to keep everything open, arguing just because people have access doesn't mean they're watching. Fox 35 is joined with other local news stations to fight to keep the hearings open too. In court, our legal representative told the judge,
the people have a right to know. What transpires in the courtroom is public property.
And
now, is it just me? But not only has a funny shaped button mushroom, as I've seen, you haven't seen it. I'm going to show it one day. Even though he's got a funny shaped button mushroom, he's got a funny shaped head as well, hasn't he? He's got a very strange head. Anyway, just an aside. But of course, you know what they're going to say for Stephan Sterns, isn't it? Because there's this accident that he had when he was a child where he was run over. He got headed and he was in hospital, wasn't he? That's already been mentioned. Of course, his mum and dad think it's all Jen's fault. You know, he's going to come up with all sorts of rubbish. But at the end of the day, Stephan Sterns, he's just a bad man. A bad man, baby. Total narcissist. They felt he was in a relationship with an 8-year-old girl because he's only 8 in his own head.
Judge said that he will issue a written order.
Sorry, I just want to add as well, again, how many people have head injuries and don't murder people? You know, I know that they say there's some sort of correlation between, there may be some, it's never really been proven, has it? But there's lots of people have head injuries and don't murder people. You know, I had a friend, he fell off a ladder, you know, he was in intensive care, he nearly died. Never went and murdered anybody afterwards. You know, so, again, you can use, there's always something, whoever it is. You could look back in my life and say, oh, well, maybe she did it because of this, that, or the other. We've all got trauma in our lives one way or another. It could be childhood trauma. It could be abuse. It could be, you know, an accident. It could be relationship problems. It could be a mental breakdown. Is there any of us that haven't got, you could always drag something up for anyone, but basically people cope with all kinds of different issues day in, day out, and they don't go and murder somebody. Or abuse someone over 6 years, you know, or however long it was. So you've got to stop using these excuses. You're just dealing with the evidence. You know, this is the evidence. This is what they did. They're guilty. Now, maybe when the sentencing comes up, maybe you could sort of put some of these, but I still don't think it makes any difference. If that's the reason, if the reason why somebody did something is because they've got all these problems in the past, well, just lock them up forever because they're never going to change. Those problems aren't going to go away, are they?
In the next 10 business days. Now, as we mentioned, this is the first time that we have seen Stephan Sterns in a courtroom. Coming up new at 6, you'll hear from a body language expert about what she noticed while watching him. Reporting tonight, Rady Hildreth, Fox 35 News.
Okay, so
developing in
let me
Osceola
just
County
go
this
to,
morning. That's developing in Osceola County.
so I've got another one for us to look at.
Sterns. He has 2 open cases in Florida.
Hi, Moonbeam. Now, watch this this lawyer. Now, this is why I can't stand her, because I know she's got to be civil to him. He's her client, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. But she's laughing and joking. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Just couldn't.
One of them is a capital case where he's accused of the murder of 13-year-old Madeline Soto.
It's hilarious.
Soto
You
is the
abused and murdered your stepdaughter, but let's have a laugh, eh?
daughter of Sterns's girlfriend, Jennifer. They were all living together in the same home at the time that Madeleine disappeared. When authorities searched Stephan Sterns' phone, they found numerous photographs, they said, that depicted sexual materials, photos of Madeleine, explicit photos. Child pornography is what it is, they say. So many of them that he's got over 60 counts of sex abuse in a separate case. And that is the reason he is in court this morning for a pretrial conference on the sex abuse case. The homicide case, prosecutors are choosing to try later, which is kind of atypical. You would think that the more serious of the two, the homicide case where they're pursuing the death penalty, would be tried first, but perhaps there's a method to this legal strategy.
Oh, was that it? Oh, I didn't realise it was so short. But anyway, you get the gist of it. He's there in court. He's trying to get reporters, he's trying to make it closed so that reporters can't report on it or information can't come out before the trial. And I'm hoping the judge will say no, but anyway, whatever. He's still going to get found guilty. I mean, we can say allegedly all we want with this case, but this is, it's about as secure a case as you can get, really, isn't it? At the end of the day. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe she'd seen his button mushroom, David, and that's why she was laughing. She seemed to be really laughing anyway. Something was hilarious. I'm just wondering what can be hilarious when you're there representing a man for what she's representing him for. I just honestly don't. It makes my skin crawl. And all right, maybe you've got to be there. That's your job. You've got to be defending. But do you really have to have be giggling like a schoolgirl with him? For God's sake. A copy. I think I have got a copy of that phone call with him and his mum. Tried to wake Madeleine up. What do you mean? Tried to wake her up? What, by murdering her, strangling her? Sorry, just that's going to be. So we're going to have a couple of distressing cases this year because that Idaho 4 is going to be distressing. All cases are distressing, but some are more distressing than others, aren't they? And this is another one, especially because it involves a young girl, and he was in a position of trust with Madeleine, and it happened over such a length of time. Oh, she did it. What, she strangled herself, did she, Kelly? I'm not having a go at you. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? The things. So you find your teenage stepdaughter deceased, and what you think you'll do is throw all the stuff away into the garbage and pretend you're taking her to school, put her dead in the back of the car. Those parents just want back, even though Madeleine's been transported around in it deceased. No, I tell you, the police have got a lot of evidence against Stephan. They've got CCTV of him taking Madeleine out of the front of the car and putting her in the boot. They've got things that we don't know yet and that probably won't come out until the trial. If even then may only be shown to the jurors. So, yeah, listen, his mum and dad, the pair of them, those parents, they are exactly what's wrong with Stephan Sterns, because they can't believe that their little Stephan would do anything terrible like that unless it was Jennifer made him do it, or Madeleine was too precocious, or nothing's his fault. This to me is a big people need to take individual responsibility. You can't blame parents, you can't blame partners unless they participated in it. You know what I think about Jen, even though she might not be Mother of the Year, she's not a killer. She's just, to try and blame her, I think is completely wrong. He did it. Jen is just guilty of being a bit of a thicko, I think, and just oblivious to everything. And as I say, not being maybe the best mum ever. But you know what? That's a whole nother matter. And I think Jen is living with her own punishment day in, day out. I was watching her interviews again. She was really upset. If people are not only really upset, but just she was in denial. She just couldn't believe that Stephan could have done that. And I don't think you can understand that unless you've lived with someone for all that time. Stephan comes over as this, look, that bloody lawyer, knowing what he's done. She's laughing and joking with him. You know, he's like this very self-effacing, quiet guy. I just think Jen just really could not believe that, even when she saw the evidence, she could not believe that he could have done it. And we see it so often with Richard Allen, with lots of people so far in denial. They just cannot believe that somebody could do something. Now, I'm sure now Jen knows that he did it. So the person I'm more interested to see is Jen, when she will end up giving evidence, won't she, or something. You know, I'm not one of these people who hates on her. I can't hate on her because I think she's living her own punishment day in, day out. That she was crying in this interview I was watching, saying, I just want her to come back. I just want her to come home. She just couldn't believe it. It's, you know, don't forget she was drugged up to the eyeballs. Okay, David, see you later. Okay, so I wanted to just give you that update on Madeleine. Now, the next two, I'm going to talk about two more cases just briefly before I finish. These are new cases. Well, they're cases that are finished, if you like. You know, they're cases that they're not new cases in the sense that they've just happened. But they're new to us because I haven't covered them. I didn't even know about them. But I want to talk about these victims, because all victims do. Thing is, there's so many victims. All victims deserve to have their case heard, to have the outrage that we need to feel against the perpetrators. Every single victim deserves that. But of course, not all cases are so high profile, are they? Now, what I'm going to do with this video, I will be splitting it in smaller videos. So just to let you know, if the individual videos come out, you may have already seen, because if you've been watching this live, but I'm going to split them into the individual videos and release them. So the first person I want to talk about, let me just put something that an email somebody sent me this. Thank you so much. Yeah, when people send me, you know, I appreciate people send me emails of cases, and I try, if they're interesting, that I think, you know, we'll all be interested in, I always keep them there, and I try and work through them as I can. So there are still some cases that people have sent me that I haven't covered yet, but I'm going to. So if you sent me a case and I haven't covered it yet, doesn't mean that I'm not going to cover it. It means I've just not been able to get round to it. Maybe. So anyway, this particular case, somebody sent me an email with a link to this story that I'd not heard of. And this is the case of this lady, Jillian Howell. Jillian is no longer with us. Jillian was murdered by, well, what would you call him? A friend, I suppose. She was kind to him. She felt sorry for him, but she didn't want to be with him romantically. And he got angry about that. And Jillian suffered because of it. You know what? Her crime, if you like, was not wanting a romantic relationship with this man. So he took it upon himself to kill her in anger. And not only that, he etched into her forehead the word bully after she was dead. He took a knife and did that. So Jillian, he defiled her body. So this is the twonk, David Browning. He has been jailed over Jillian Howell bully murder. Now, she wasn't a bully. She was a kind person who felt sorry for this pathetic, but he's probably but a mushroom. She felt sorry for him. That was her crime. But then when he wanted to take it further, she didn't want to go further. She just wanted to be friends. So a man who stabbed his boss to death and wrote bully on her forehead has been jailed for life and ordered to serve at least 28 years. It's not enough years, in my opinion. Having said that, he's 52, so he'll be 80 before he comes out. But, you know, lots of people live a lot longer than 80 these days. He'll be looked after in prison. He'll have the best medical care, etc. It's not enough years. It's not enough years. So he was found guilty in Hove Crown Court. So this is in the UK on Wednesday. He stabbed Jillian Howell in the chest, neck and abdomen, leaving her with 15 stab and slash wounds in October. He had formed an intense attachment to the 46-year-old Brighton University payroll boss, jurors heard. No, how do these people, when is this going to stop? This violence towards women and feeling like you're entitled to a relationship with a woman. And if she doesn't want a relationship with you, you're entitled to murder her. The court was told he went to her house for dinner, so they were friends, and he reacted with anger when she rejected him. So this is the problem. Sometimes it's nice to have men as friends, but, you know, I'm always wary now because this has sort of happened to me before. I like men and I like their company and I like them as friends. But sometimes if they want to take it further, they just don't know how to take no for an answer. I mean, it could work both ways. I could have a man that I know who I quite like in a romantic way, but he's not interested in me romantically. And if that came to a point where, you know, not that I ever would make a pass at him, he'd have to, I'm not that, that's just not me. But he would have to do it first. So I would, you know, but let's suppose I did and he refused me. Would I murder him and you know, write bully on his forehead with a knife? I mean, come on. You've got to accept sometimes people aren't interested in you romantically. You know, that's the way it is. Maybe you like them, but you're not entitled to a relationship. You know, just because you like them doesn't mean they have to like you. Anyway, Judge Christine Lang said the way in which Browning murdered her was savage, adding this was a sustained attack and the terror and trauma for her in the final few minutes of her life is unimaginable. And she said she desperately tried to defend herself. And he then defiled her body by writing the word bully on her forehead, but added nothing was further than the truth. Maybe he didn't do it with a knife, maybe he did it with a pen, I don't know. Still fucking awful. The reality of Jillian Howell is that she was a compassionate woman, a quality that cost her life. Yeah, trying to be nice to twonks. Probably felt sorry for him because he's like got nothing going for him. Miss Lang said Browning had developed a crush that turned into an obsession, and the judge told him, I am quite satisfied that what led you to killing her was a very ordinary cocktail of human emotions, desire, jealousy, frustration, and anger. Just a prick, that's why he did it. How dare he? How dare he? Just think he's entitled to a relationship with her, and because she didn't want a relationship with him, he had the right to do that. So this was illustrated in his vitriol towards Miss Howell's close friend Sean MacDonald, who he tried and failed to frame for the killing. Jillian did more than most people would have done to support you as a concerned colleague and friend, but it's plain you wanted to be more important or special to her than that. I have watched you closely during this trial, and you have shown no emotion and little remorse other than for your own situation. So this must be the curry that they had. I don't know why they've got a picture of a curry there. Browning had claimed he and Miss Howell clashed when they first started working together in 2015, but then they became friends. The court heard that Browning was described as the epitome of urban normality. This is what I was saying before. Killers don't look like killers. They're just normal people until, you know, they're not. Until his father died in 2016, leaving him with depression. Oh, there you go. It's depression. Depression now. Yeah, okay. Miss Howell told friends she wanted to help him. In the months before the killing, Browning applied for a firearms license, bought a shotgun and a knife, another one who bought a shotgun, hired a van, deleted messages and data on his phone, and took a change of clothes to the crime scene. So he was planning it. He was going there for a meal. He took a change of clothes with him. Oh my God. And he's only got 28 years. It was premeditated. So they shared a curry. Oh, he had his curry first, and then he stabbed her. What the hell is that? Oh, and then he uploaded this to his Facebook page. Stand up to bullies, then kill them. Oh my God. Do you know what? What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? Yeah, he'd probably say did it because he was depressed. God. It's just, it's one of those that makes you speechless again. After the killing, he posted a cartoon on Facebook with the slogan, "Stand up to bullies, then kill them," before he phoned the Samaritans. And when he handed himself into the police, he claimed it was manslaughter by diminished responsibility. Well, it obviously isn't, because he premeditated it. So that's why he would have ended up getting charged with murder. Father of two, a way to make your kids proud. Anyway, apparently he showed no mercy in the inexcusable killing, but he asked for some light at the end of the tunnel. He accepted his diagnosed condition may have played some part, but said he had been rational at the time. Yeah, he was rational. And this was in Brighton, where Jack O'Sullivan's gone missing, not that it's any connection with that. After the hearing, Mr. McDonald described how he felt when he found out Miss Howell had died, and then days later discovered someone had tried to implicate him in the killing. So this is the other friend of hers. She probably had several male friends. Why shouldn't you have male friends? I thought beforehand I could not be any more heartbroken, but then I was, and it completely broke me. It hurt me quite deeply that anyone thought I could harm Jill in any way at all. He described Miss Howell as intensely private and very unassuming, and he said it was disgraceful that anyone could try and link me to harming someone so beautiful. So he put graffiti on the wall saying, "Blame Sean McDonald for this." Oh, come on. I mean, that is just totally stupid, to be honest, because obviously if somebody puts that on the wall, you're going to think, well, it wasn't Sean McDonald. So, I mean, that is just ridiculous. Anyway, he added that Miss Howell had been loved by everybody. And he said, as regards the murderer, I'll never mention his name ever again. I'll never speak about him. And he can be forgotten, but every day I'll remember Jill. And that's what I'm going to do with these twonks. When it comes to their sentencing, we're going to have a process where we just put them into, anyway, I'm going to talk about that in another video. Tributes to Miss Howell were also played by the director of Brighton and Hove Samaritans, Alison Pratt, who said that the dedicated volunteer supported people in distress and played a vital role in recruiting and training. So she was a member of the Samaritans. We know that it will continue to be very difficult for Jill's family and friends, and our thoughts are with them. We will remember her as a warm, compassionate and committed member of the team. So let's have another look at her. Warm, compassionate woman, Jillian Howell, murdered by a button mushroom twonk who just lock him up and throw away the key. God, I'm so sorry, Jillian. I'm so sorry that your niceness, your friendship led to that twonk murdering you. So I wanted to tell you about that case because I didn't know about that case. I'd not seen anything about it before, and Jillian deserves to have her story told. And now one other case we're going to talk about before we finish. And again, it's sad. Of course, all these things that we cover are sad, aren't they? But I think there's a little bit of positivity in this last case. This last person has had survived the attack that was made on them. But I just need to warn you, it's a pretty horrific attack. And this just came up on my X feed this morning. I follow Jane Monkton-Smith, who does so much for domestic violence victims and trying to avoid women being murdered as they are sort of day in, day out. And this case, again, I didn't know about. And I think it's a very important case. So what this guy did, we're going to watch the YouTube, which unfortunately is GB News. But, it's a very interesting interview by the victim herself. And what this lady's partner did, he blinded her. This is Tina Nash and her ex-partner. Sorry, I'm not sharing. Let me share. Her ex-partner. He didn't kill her, but do you know what he did? He gouged out her eyes. Now, warning here, warning. So she could never see her children again. That was his punishment on her. Didn't kill her. What sort of person have you got to be to gouge out somebody's eyes so they can never see their children again? Now, I've played this last because I thought it might be a little bit inspiring. We're going to listen to her interview. And the thing is, these people, survive these terrible attacks, quite often the strength that they have, they should be inspiring to us because just the way they overcome these terrible things that happen to them. So let's have a look while she tells us where she met him.
Joins me now. Tina, good evening to you. Firstly, it is an absolute honour and a privilege to talk to you. I find you an incredibly inspirational lady. I'm very well aware of your story. Now, if you wouldn't mind, Tina, would you just, for any viewers that have not followed your story or perhaps not aware of it, can you just explain to people your story, your former partner, a man called Shane Jenkin? Explain to the viewers, if you will, the background behind what happened to you.
Basically, I met Shane Jenkin back in 2009, and I went down to the Barn nightclub with my sister, and basically I'd got chatting to him, and my sister said he seemed like a really nice fella, like he'd sorted his life out, because we'd knew him 10 years previously from a brief encounter, but didn't really know anything about this man. So when I met him down the Barn nightclub, that's when our relationship started. Basically, he was very, very sweet to me for the first, I'd say 4 or 5 months. Extremely nice to me. I never, ever knew that this man had previous towards any other women at all. So when he first turned on me
So this is important, isn't it? When you meet someone, anyone, well, she knew him 10 years before. It wasn't the first time she'd ever met him. Even someone maybe you went to school with or somebody you did know 10 years ago, when you bump into them again, you don't know what's happened in that meantime. I've heard a lot of the true crime things I've seen where people have bumped into someone and started a relationship with them, but unbeknown to them, in the sort of 10 years that they hadn't seen them, they'd done all sorts of terrible things. You almost feel like you should, as soon as you start a new relationship with someone, you should do a police check on them, a man or woman. You need to know, because you just don't know about people's past.
I started seeing little first glimpses around about New Year's Eve when we went out to a pulled up party, and he turned on me on that night and started spitting on me and calling me all sorts of horrendous things. But he hadn't actually beat me up until the April. I think it was April the 16th, 2010. The final attack happened April the 21st, 2011.
So April, and let's just explain to people. So was Shane Jenkin a man that you loved? Did you love this man?
I fell in love with him. Yes, I did.
And you were unaware that he had a previous history, like you say. He'd served quite a lengthy prison sentence for giving somebody previously brain damage by stamping on them. But he'd explained to you that it wasn't really him and that he was the fall guy for his friend, and you believed that.
I did believe it. He said to me that he took the blame. There was another man that was with him, but he took the blame. He didn't want to be, in his words, a grass, so he took the full blame.
You know, they say, I mean, pardon the pun, because it literally ended up being blind in this case, but love is blind. You know, when people, how many times have you heard someone, not maybe even things as extreme as this, but people want to believe it, comes back to this denial thing. When someone's in love with somebody, they want to believe what they're telling them. You know, you meet someone and then you find out they've got a conviction for, well, grievous bodily harm, isn't it? I mean, it's not just, I don't know, it's not stealing a packet of crisps from a supermarket. You know, grievous bodily harm, stamping on someone's head. And then he's saying to her, oh, no, he just took the fall for it, you know, for somebody else. Now, and she's believed him because she loved him, you know, because people, when they're in, it's, so, you know, see, if that was me, I mean, but I'm further on now, obviously, in my life. She would have been younger then, you know, and I've experienced things in my life that have made me perhaps a bit too cynical. But, you know, you would, wouldn't you, if I would have researched that, I'm not saying I wouldn't have believed him in the end, but what I would have had to do was research it and find out if it was true or not, go into the case, find out, you know, if he had any other convictions for anything, not just that set point blank, you know, what he says. But she loved him, and she was probably, if it was over 10 years ago now, I think she was probably quite young. You want to be in love. I think when people fall in love, especially because in the beginning, when it's really nice, she said he was really sweet to her for such a long time. It's so difficult then when they change and their real self comes out. It's so, you always want to remember the nice things, and you think, oh, but he was so lovely then, and he did this and he did that. It's so difficult, you know, to accept that that wasn't the real them. This is the real them now. That in the beginning wasn't the real them. That was the love bombing and the narcissism, etc. Get you to fall in love with them, and then once you're in love with them, then the real them comes out, doesn't it?
And that's why he got sentenced to 4.5 years for giving a man brain damage for stamping on his head.
And you loved this man, you believed this man, you wanted to see the good in him, you believed his story.
I fell in love with him. It was 3 months before we even turned around and told each other that we loved each other. That's why I thought it was real love.
Yeah, because, you took your time.
Yeah, because other previous relationships that I've ever been in, people have always turned around and said to me that they loved me straight away, which I never believed, because I thought you can't love someone straight away. Whereas with Shane, it was different. It was 3 months before we told each other we loved each other, and that's what was different for me. And I really fell for him. I've never really been in love properly until I met him.
Oh,
yeah.
So then let's talk about that fateful night and what happened to you at the hands of the man that you've just told us you loved and that you felt safe with and that you believed was the man for you. Talk us through that horrendous night. What happened?
Well, I was outside chatting with my new next door neighbours because the back door of my house is on the side of my house. So the side of my house is on, basically, I can see the back of their garden. So we was out there chatting with my next door neighbours. And I went upstairs to go and use the toilet. And as I'm going for a wee, I could hear him talking to the neighbours next door, offering his prescription medication. And I thought, oh, for God's sake, I've only just got the social services out of my life. He's just come out of prison. He told me everything's going to be okay and everything's going to be normal. I'm going to get the social services back in my life again because of this. So I quickly ran down the stairs. And as I've gone into the kitchen, he's already in the kitchen cupboard pulling out his medication. So I quickly, he's a big tall guy. He's like 6'4". I'm only 5'4".
Oh.
So he's quite taller than me. And as he's reached up, I've kind of managed to reach up and quickly grab him out of his hands and looked at him, and I went like that with my face, like, because I didn't want to talk because the back door was open and I didn't want to hear like the neighbours hearing me having an argument with him. So I just quickly shook my head like that, as if thinking that he had realised what I meant. And he snatched them out of my hands, gave me the most filthy look, and went like that in my face. So I turned around and I was like, I said, F you. And I turned around on my heel and I went upstairs through my front room, back upstairs. These are my final visions as well.
Oh.
Through my front room, back up the stairs, and I jumped into my bed with my clothes on. And I remember turning to...
Imagine that's the last time you saw anything. You know, that's the last time she is completely blind. Just awful, isn't it?
To the left like that to me, where I could see the light coming through the doorway. And then I just turned on my right side and I thought, bugger you. And that's the last thing I remember. And the next thing, I woke up and I wasn't laying the way that I should be with my pillows behind me. I was laying across the bed with my legs hanging off the bed, and I was wrapped up in my duvet, and I didn't know what was going on. And I was making all these weird gargling noises, like guttural noises coming from my throat. And there was really weird noises. I've never made noises like that from my life. I didn't know what it was. I now know that was the death chant, but at the time I did not know that. And
oh my God, the death chant, this poor woman.
Next thing you know, I had hands through the duvet start strangling me, and I couldn't protect myself because I was wrapped up in the duvet where my arms were beside my side as well. I couldn't breathe. There was no air coming in. I didn't know I was blind. I didn't know he had beaten me up. I didn't know anything. All I knew was he strangled me, and I don't know why. He knocked me unconscious. When I came back round, the room was really quiet, and I was still making all those weird guttural noises in the back of my throat. I didn't know what was going on. Still didn't know I was blind. And then after, I felt like I was in the room then for about 10, 15 minutes on my own, because it just felt like a long time. And then I felt the hands come through the duvet again and start strangling me again and knock me unconscious. And then I come back round, and then the third time.
Right, I hope you're all okay out there, because this is pretty triggering, so it's going to get even worse. So just to warn you, if you don't, if you think the details are going to be too much, probably better you don't watch.
Still making all the weird noises and everything. Still didn't know I was blind, still wrapped up in the duvet. And the room was quiet again. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't scream for help because I didn't have a voice. That's the thing. I couldn't scream. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't even scream out for help. And then next thing you know, his hands around my throat again, strangling me. And this time I knew that he was attacking me, and I could feel my legs stretching really out far. And then next thing you know, I opened my eyes and I was somewhere completely different. I actually thought I was outside on my trampoline sunbathing. I could see black underneath me, and I looked up, and the sky looked like white with really light blue and pale pink colours in it, and everything had a golden shimmer to it. Oh. And all of a sudden I really relaxed into myself, and I was like, oh.
That's like a near-death experience, isn't it, by the sound of it? We need to do a video on that one day, because I do believe in those for the reasons that people quite often have these near-death experiences, don't they? It's quite nice in a way, because it sounds like it's a pleasant experience at least.
Wow, this is nice. And then I remember hearing like men to the left of me mumbling, and I thought, who's that? And I knew it was three men to the side of me, but for some reason I couldn't turn my head to have a look. So I was trying to arc my ear to listen to what was being said, and I couldn't make out what was being said. And then in my head I thought, that's my neighbour. He's going to know that I'm being attacked by Shane, and he's going to come and rescue me. And as soon as I thought that, all of a sudden my legs got pulled up to like a 45-degree angle like that. And all of a sudden my legs started being pulled like on a magnet. And then next thing you know, in my body, I felt my body go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times like that. And all of a sudden I opened my eyes. Even though I didn't know I was blind, I was conscious. I was, and I didn't realize that I just basically passed over. I didn't even realize that. It wasn't until after, when I was telling my story, I realized what that was.
Oh, Tina, you're saying that you're blind. For any of the viewers that are not aware of your story,
yeah,
what had he done to you?
basically what he had done is when I was sleeping, I don't remember him coming up the stairs or anything. He'd come into the room, he'd put me through my bed because all my slats on my bed was actually broken and put through. He'd come in, he'd beaten me unconscious. My head was twice the size of what it should have been, broken nose, broken jaw. And basically when I was unconscious, he gouged my eyes out with his bare thumbs.
God.
I didn't know that I was blind until basically on that third time that I come back round after he'd knocked me unconscious. When I come back round, I knew that he was trying to kill me then. That is when I knew what he was doing. And I stretched my foot really out far and I had these plastic boxes at the end of my bed, out to the side of my bed. And I managed to kick my foot on one of these side boxes on my bed, which then he came in to strangle me again on the fourth time. And as I'm trying to lever myself up out of this duvet, he's gone to strangle me again. But this time he's lost his balance and kind of fell on top of me. And I've managed to turn my head to the side like that. And as I've done that and pushed at the same time, I've popped my head up out of the duvet. And that is the first time I've managed to get a gasp of air. And I took the biggest gasp of air in and I went, Shane, I'm sorry, I love you. That came out of my mouth so quick. And that was the first words that I said. As soon as I said that, he ripped the duvet off me. And I was still lying down at that point. And then as I was sat up, he told me as I was sitting up, your eyes are hanging out your head. You're blind. You're never going to see your children again. And this is all your fault. And as he's told me that, I've sat up on the side of my bed and then I felt my cheek like that and my eyeball was down here resting on my...
Oh my goodness, I hope you're all okay out there. This poor woman, what she went through, just awful.
Cheek. So I quickly stood up in shock and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I didn't even realise that I was even blind in the right eye. That eye was out here. You don't imagine that your eye could swell up that much, but it did. It was out here, so swollen. So I quickly fumbled my way around the edge of the bed and come out of my bedroom and he was in front of me. And I sat down on the top of the stairs. And as I've gone down each stairs, I was on my bum, going down each step at a time. And as I got down to the bottom, he's picked me up like a baby, like carrying me like a baby like that. And he's took me straight into the bathroom, which was downstairs next to my kitchen. And as he's took me into the bathroom, he's literally, all I had on as well was a bra around my waist, but I went to bed with my clothes on, so I don't know what happened. And as he's taken me into the bathroom, he's held me.
I mean, this is just unbelievable, isn't it? Do you know, this woman, at least she is here to tell us the story. You know, this sort of part of me wants to click off the story, but then I think the fact that she's here to tell us this story, it should be told because this man has got to be seen for what he is. And this is the reason that Jane Monkton Smith shared this today on the X, because he's, you know, I don't know. He never should come out of prison. So he only got 4.5 years for stamping on someone's head so much that gave him brain damage. He was released from prison and went on to do this. Now, the thing is, if she would have died that day, she wouldn't be here to tell this story, and he could tell us any sort of cock and bull story. It'd probably be all her fault, or, you know, she antagonized him, or he'd be another one coming up with the saying he had mental health issues, or he had this, that, or the other. But she's here to tell us this story, and I think, you know, it's so good for that reason, and that she is still here. And she's made a life for herself one way or another. But of course, you know, she is blind and you can never get that back.
Out like that. And I didn't know what he was doing. And he literally dropped me. And he dropped me into a bath deep of cold water that was filled up to the top. My head went under, and the shock that went through my eyes and the pain and everything, because my head went under. And when I come up, I spewed straight away. And I spewed up everywhere. And I actually think that was what stopped him from drowning me. Because
goodness me.
I think he's either shocked by the fact that I spewed up, or he didn't want to get sick all over him.
Oh, and Tina, he actually he kept you hostage for 12 hours. He wouldn't get you any help. No. So then if we focus, I mean, I can't even imagine.
So then he kept her hostage for 12 hours. I wonder what sentence this guy got. I'm going to have a look.
So sorry, and I know that I will echo the feelings and thoughts of all of my viewers. It is appalling what you've been through. We're so sorry that you've experienced that. And those words that you've just said, when he says you're never going to see your children again and it's your fault. I mean, I can't even, as a mummy myself, I can't imagine what that must have felt like. And I want to tell you on behalf of everyone watching this, none of this was your fault. I can assure you of that. So tell me then, when it came to your site then,
okay, so I'm going to stop this interview now. So I've just looked to see so the reason this is back in the news, because I don't remember this story from when it happened, but the reason it's back in the news is he's been moved to an open prison. So let's have a look at that. So this is in Cornwall, this happened. Oh, there she is, Tina. Bless her. So Cornwall woman blinded by her ex-partner fears for her life. So this is just Monday, this article. As he's moved to an open prison. Oh my God. So Tina Nash, 44, from Cornwall, was blinded by Shane Jenkin in April 2011 during a violent attack in which he held her hostage for 12 hours, strangled her, broke her nose and jaw and gouged out her eyes. So he's sentenced. Oh my God. Oh God. So Jenkin, 45, of Sea Lane Hale in Cornwall, admitted grievous bodily harm and was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 6 years. So bear in mind, this guy has already been in prison for stamping on someone's head and giving them brain damage. He's blinded this poor woman and strangled her and held her hostage for 12 hours. And he was only given a minimum term of 6 years. So he was moved to an open prison at the beginning of March this year. In an open prison, he can leave for short periods under license to take part in paid or unpaid work or to see a family member who is seriously ill. A Ministry of Justice spokesperson, right, I'm getting angry now, said a robust risk assessment is always carried out before any prisoners move to open conditioners. For fuck's sake, sorry about my language, but this guy, how many risk assessments do you need to do on someone who's given one person brain damage and blinded another? After learning of his relocation, Miss Nash said, "I'm really scared because I don't think he'll leave it, especially because I've spoken out about what he's done. I think he's been sitting there this whole entire time, kicking himself that he did not finish me off." I'm not going into what Laura Richards said because I'm not a fan of hers. I'm extremely, No, I'll talk about what Jane Monckton Smith says. I have a lot of respect for her, but not the other one. So, Miss Nash, who met Jenkin at a club in Penzance in August 2009, said the first 8 months of their relationship was loving until he turned on her. Well, we've just heard the story. Now, we need a picture of him because if you're living in Cornwall or anywhere around there, here he is. This is Jane Monckton Smith's post. This is how I came to see about this story. There he is. So if you're living in Cornwall and you see this twonk, make sure you stay away from him. Oh my God. So the next thing he'll do is he will kill someone. And then maybe they'll keep him in prison, eh? Maybe then they'll keep him in prison. Hi, Sheila. Yeah. So he's in an open prison. If you live in Cornwall, watch out for this guy. They're going to wait. I'll tell you, he'll kill someone in the end. If it's not her, it'll be somebody else. Because this man has already stamped on someone's head and given them brain damage, blinded her, strangled her, and kept her hostage for 12 hours. And he's going to get let out, isn't he? He's going to be free to do either something to her or he'll go off and do it to somebody else, won't he? Let's have a look what Jane Monckton Smith had to say. Yeah, no, I love Jane Monckton Smith. I have a lot of respect for her. I remember this awful case. He doesn't deserve to ever be released. Yeah. Awful. Right, we're really angry now, aren't we? We're all angry. I thought, bye, Donna, have a good day. I thought I'd finish on this story because although I knew it was a horrible story in one way, but I thought it was good because it's positive, but I didn't know the whole story. I've only seen it today. So, my God. No, when are we, what, how do, oh, justice. Oh my God, that is no justice. I mean, we have seen some good sentences recently, but 6 years, a minimum of 6 years for doing all that. And don't forget, he's already been in prison for violence. It's not even his first offence. It's like this woman's life is not, you know, her experience is not important. You know, it's terrible, disgusting. I'm absolutely outraged about this man. Just let's go back to that one again. No, she was. Oh dear me! Honestly, I'm sort of struggling for something to say here because let's just go back and look at another article. Let's have a look at the BBC. There she is, bless her. Ay. Now listen to this. So this Ministry of Justice spokesperson says, you know, all prisoners must pass a robust risk assessment before they move to open conditions. And we do not hesitate to move them back to closed prisons if they break the rules. Well, it's too late then, isn't it? So he goes out there, maybe attacks her again, maybe even murders her or kills somebody else. Oh, well, then we'll send him back to a closed prison. Oh, my God. No words. Exactly, Annie. No words. So I'm sorry, I was meaning to finish on something more positive. That's not very positive. I think I might need to look at some kangaroos or wombats or something. To make me smile. But yeah, that is just, I'm just speechless, as you say, Annie. We're all speechless over that. That's how much our safety means. You know, that poor woman. God, of course she's terrified. My God. That man's not going to stop. He'll hate her even more. He will hate her even more now because she has spoke up against him. Right, I'm going to look at a wombat. I love these wombats. Look at this.
You got here, Ashley?
Miller.
She's doing so good, isn't
the
she?
The size of that wombat.
Who do you reckon's heavier, you or Miller?
Probably me.
Oh, I'll give you a look, hey? Whoa.
He's bloody heavy.
All right, give me a look. Oh my God, you're way lighter. That's a dense wombat right here.
Let's find a baby wombat. Sorry, I don't want to watch it. Look, let's have a look at a baby wombat. So I like to look at these wombats that are safe.
So far, I'm not seeing any obvious injuries except for the bruising. She's got quite a lot of bruising on her back.
So what happens is that quite often these little joeys, like wombats and kangaroos, of course, and their mums sometimes are killed on the road or whatever. Like what they say is you should always check in their pouch because quite often they might be carrying a little joey like this, and then these wombat rescue places, they save them and bring them up. And there's a lot of positive stories. Sometimes there's sad stories come out of this where they're not able to save someone. But look at its ears. Look at its ears. So cute. Bless. And look at its nails there. I always say that's like my toenails after the winter when I need to have a pedicure. It's like so cute. Anyway, so we just finished looking at something cute. We'll watch this video and then I've got to go. But yeah, I hope I wasn't expecting that story to be quite as traumatic as it was.
She's drinking every bottle, which is really good. She's hungry now because it's bottle time.
Oh, bless.
So I just do a quick check before I close her up. She's don't want it to get cold. And then we'll feed her and she goes straight back into the incubator.
Oh, she's in an incubator.
Her eyes should open hopefully in a few weeks. She's a little fighter.
I hope she survives, bless her. But she's got a good chance. She's been looked after by... oh, Lord. Oh. Yeah, so a little bit of hope there at the end there. Look, hopefully this little one will survive. She couldn't be in a better place. Well, she could be. She could still be with her mum, but if she can't be with her mum, this wombat rescue thing, they're brilliant, the things they do. He's enjoying his little bottle there. Makes me want a puppy. I want a puppy now or a kitten. So just thought I'd cheer you up to finish off because that was a pretty horrendous story, wasn't it? And I say I wasn't expecting it to be. I didn't realise that he'd been moved to an open prison. So I hope that lady's okay. Anyway, just awful. But okay, I've got to go. So now the good news from here, from Spain, is it's now 18 degrees. It says on my computer it's got a little sun. So it means that maybe we're not going to have any more rain. Hopefully it's finished. If the rain has finished, I am going to get out and take some nice footage of nice places, the beach, etc. Try and cheer it, because we follow the true crime, and it does grind you down a little bit. I mean, yesterday when I was telling my son about something, and he just said, "Oh, I don't want to know anymore." Don't tell me anymore. You know, he just skims over it. But it's funny, isn't it? You have this you feel like there's this urgency that these people urge that these people should have their stories told. But of course, it is, depressing, isn't it? It does grind you down. So we need to do some more positive things as well. But anyway, have a good day, good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening, whatever you're doing. I'll be back really soon in the next video. And as I say, remember, I'm going to break up this video into smaller videos and release them sort of individually with the different things, because we've talked about a lot here. We've talked about the Heathrow sort of problems. We've talked about Stephan Sterns. We've talked about Bryan Kohberger. And we've talked about those two ladies at the end who deserved their stories to be told, who we've talked about Jillian Howell, who was murdered by her friend, who wrote bully on her forehead, and she was far from a bully. He was the bully. He got a life sentence. At least he got a decent sentence. And then, of course, we've talked about this lady, absolutely heartbroken, Tina Nash. And she, of course, survived her attack, but it was left blinded. And her attacker, unfortunately, has been moved to an open prison in Cornwall. And then we had a look at wombats. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God, as always, go with you.